Hey folks, Kristen from InTents.Adventures. We're out here in beautiful West Virginia enjoying some fall weather, and I'm going to take a quick second to give you a walkthrough of our new power system that we've dubbed the InTents.Adventures setup that's in the back of our Jeep. We're really excited about this system. It replaces our old Dometic PLB40 that did not work out well for overland travels, and it's now powered by Kick-Ass Products USA, which is a brand new importer to the United States. They're an Australian company just bringing some really neat products into the US market. Really excited to show you what we've got here. So let's come take a look. Alright, so here we are on the back of our Jeep 2019 JL Rubicon. And what we've got is our normal goose gear setup. So this is a really popular setup for a lot of overlanders here in the United States, especially Jeep owners. A lot of us go and get these goose gear drawers. But the problem is where to put a battery system back here. One option is to remove the back seats and to put the entire JL seat delete system that goose gear makes into the back. But that removes the back seats, and although we don't carry passengers all that often, we still wanted to have the back seats available to us. So if you're keeping the back seats and you've got these drawers, you don't have a lot of space for a traditional big bulky brick of a battery. And that's where the first part of Kick-Ass's solution comes in, because it's an ultra slim battery that's actually hidden down here in this bottom module that we built. So this very bottom piece here is an add-on that we made ourselves. And it came with components that are 10 series T-slot aluminum. Basically that means it's 1-inch prefabricated aluminum pieces. You can go to our blog and get a detailed purchase list if you want to make the exact same setup for your own goose gear system. We've laid out all the parts you need to buy. It's really very easy. It's like adult Legos. You just screw a couple pieces together. You don't have to cut anything. You don't have to weld anything. Nothing complicated. And then you've got this space down below where you can put your battery and the DC-DC controller to power everything. So let's talk a little bit more about what's actually powering the system behind this. Alright, so what we have down here is two main components from Kick-Ass Products USA. Like I said, they're an Australian company, just started importing here into the United States, and one of the really neat products that they have that sets them apart from the rest of the industry is their Slim Line battery series. As far as I've found, they're the only company in the United States right now that is offering for sale a deep cycle slim battery, so that's awesome. So the battery that we have down here, it takes up basically from the floor to the top of this module. It's 4.5 inches thick, and it's a 170 amp hour deep cycle AGM battery. AGM technology has been around for a long time. It's very dependable, very trustworthy. It's a deep cycle battery, so it can stand up to that, abuse of overland travel where we drain and recharge our batteries regularly. 170 amp hours is more than enough to supply your adventures long term. In fact, we drove here last night, we camped, we used our lights, we've been powering our fridge, we've been kind of going crazy draining this battery overnight, and we've only taken 12% out of it. So we are like cruising. There's a bunch of buffer and a bunch of space left here. And I think we're going to recharge this battery in just a few hours as we start driving around and exploring West Virginia. The other part that we have down here, and it's sort of off on this side, is the DCDC charger with MPPT solar controller. Now that's like alphabet soup, but basically what it means is that the solar charger helps to top off the battery from the solar panel that's on our rooftop tent whenever we're parked. So like right now, if the sun is shining on the solar panel, that charger is going to pull that solar energy in and recharge the battery. The DC-DC part refers to the fact that this can also charge off of our main vehicle alternator when the car is in motion. And this controller from Kick-Ass is really cool because it's smart enough to know when the car is on. It has a little wire that runs to the fuse box. And again, we've got installation instructions specific to the Jeep JL Rubicon series on our website for anybody who wants to follow along. So we tap into fuse 52, which is the cigarette lighter fuse for the main car. And when the car is on, it knows, hey, let me start pulling power off the alternator and recharging that way. So it's a really neat system. The other really, really cool thing about the Kick-Ass Products setup is that it all comes pre-wired. So if you're not somebody who's really comfortable with a lot of electricity and you don't want to be pulling out your soldering iron and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and you really, literally want a plug-and-play connection system, then the Kick-Ass Product solution is for you. So now we're back here in the back seats of the Jeep, and as you can see, like I said, we were able to keep the back seats installed while doing this setup, which is really awesome. So those times when we do want to still carry passengers, we can do so. But if I flip down the back seats, you can see where our access panel here for our setup is. So again, this space right here is everything that holds the battery and the charger. So this right here is that battery that I was mentioning, the Kick-Ass 170 amp hour battery. And then right here you can see our DC-DC controller. And we've also got back here the Dometic hardwiring kit. This is actually connected to the battery and where the fridge plugs in because it's got that nice secure twist-in lock for it. So what's really nice is I can still access everything back here. If I ever need to do any maintenance on it or check anything, I can actually still do that back here because the seats are still, accessible to this space. This battery controller has a couple really cool features on it, and while we're down here, let's talk about a few of those features. So in addition to that kick-ass DCDC battery charge controller working off of the car's alternator, like I mentioned before, it can also work off the solar panel on our vehicle's rooftop tent, which is great, so we can charge while we're on the go. The other cool thing about that charge controller is it's actually got a bunch of different neat features built into it. So I'm not a battery expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be a battery expert, but I do know that there are different types of charging modes that you want for different types of batteries that are called charge profiles. So meaning things like there's times when you're going to want bulk absorption versus float absorption. I don't know when I'm going to want all of that, but I appreciate the Kick-Ass does, and they built a product that's smart enough to do those changes for me. So this battery controller will automatically switch between charging profiles based on the type of battery I have so that it keeps that battery in top maintenance and performance conditions. Speaking of battery types, the Kick-Ass Products controllers are compatible with a bunch of different batteries, including lithium. That's really great because although right now Kick-Ass doesn't make a slim lithium battery, I wouldn't be surprised if they do in the future. And if they do, I can upgrade my battery system to a battery that is lighter weight and smaller while not having to change out my controller. It's made it a little bit future-proof for us. Finally, one last cool feature that they've got there is they're pre-wired with a wire that is called the external LED wire. And we have run that in such a way that it comes up to the passenger side grab handle here, and we've got a little external LED that's wired into that, and that will flash in sync with the charge controller flashing button that's on the back of the controller itself to let you know when the battery is charging while you're sitting up in the driver's seat. So basically I can be driving down the road, I can look over, see that little LED flashing, and I know that the charger in the back is kicking ass, taking names, and keeping my battery in tip-top shape. Alright, so now we've talked about the battery, we've talked about how the battery gets recharged, but last thing we need to talk about is how we take juice out of that battery. So I showed you the Dometic hardwire kit that lets me plug in the fridge, but for the rest of the time, how do I draw some juice out of it? So we designed a couple of different features so that we can pull battery power out of that battery while we're out and about and, hopefully future-proof the system for us. So first is we've pre-wired some of our different lights, like our hardcore lighting strip system that we've got back here, into the battery pack so they're always on. Another thing we did is we actually ran wiring to our rooftop tent so that we permanently have power up there. We used to play this game where we would carry battery bricks and cables, and it was a mess of crap that we were taking into the tent every night. Not doing that anymore. This switch right here, when I flick it on, power now runs via SAE type connectors into our rooftop tent where we've got USB outlets, we can run our lights, we can run a fan, we can run all sorts of different accessories, charge our phones at night. It's great. Flip that switch and the tent power is off. It's also nice because we made those cables with quick disconnects with nice rubber covers. So it's actually going to be really easy for us to remove some of those wires during the off season so that we can protect everything and we don't accidentally short circuit the system. Finally, we did add a couple of charging ports here to the front of our box. Again, we built this whole module ourselves. The wooden plate here, just cut it out of a quick little template, and then we drilled a couple holes to power a couple accessories. So flip that switch on, and I've got two USB ports here. It actually has a built-in voltmeter, and then I also have a 12-volt cigarette lighter down here too. So when we're at camp, if we need to power anything or we want to charge something, run our speaker, charge our iPad, whatever, we can do so back here. The last thing that we installed that was an upgrade, because Kick-Ass doesn't offer it, is we wanted a battery monitor system. So this is actually from Renogy. It's not that expensive. It adds a little extra steps to the wiring. It does negate some of the plug-and-play that Kick-Ass offers. It's totally optional. You do not need this. But for us, it gives us a quick visual of how many amps are left in the battery, what is our current charge percentage. It's doing some math based on the current output and input. and lets us get a kind of quick visual of how much battery life we have remaining. So here on our Renogy battery monitor, you got a couple of quick visuals as to what's going on inside of our kick-ass 170 amp hour AGM battery. So what you can see here is, first of all, it's calculating 73 amp hours remaining. If you're not familiar with AGM battery technology, basically you never want to drain the battery below halfway. So in a 170 amp hour battery, half of the battery capacity is 85 amps. So really, full, this would only ever say 85 amps. So 73 doesn't mean that I've used 100 amps, it means I've only actually used like 12 amps. Right here you can see the battery voltage, 12.9 volts. Here we can see what our current amps in or out is. So right now the fridge hasn't kicked on, the compressor's not running on it, so it thinks it's drawing in a little less than 1/10 of an amp right now from solar. If the fridge did kick on, you'd actually see this drop to like a -3.5. It was doing that just a second ago, but the fridge has since cut off. Over here, this is a calculation showing the percentage remaining. Basically, it's estimating in our current usage how much time is going to be left. So in this setup, we would have about 22 hours of battery charge remaining at our current usage, and so it estimates that the battery is 87% full. And then again, wattage gen here would be coming in from the solar panel. And right now, we're parked in the shade. It's pre-morning, so we don't have a whole lot of solar input coming in. And that's what we're getting here in this Renogy display. There's lots of different options like this on the market, but this was a great setup for our particular In-Powered Adventures box. Kick-Ass does actually offer a inline watt meter that would do the same thing for us, but because of the way that we installed ours, that really wasn't going to be a convenient or flexible setup for us, so we went with this aftermarket faceplate sort of version that we've got here. So that's a real quick walkthrough of our Kick-Ass products installation and our In-Powered Adventures setup in the back of our Jeep. If you want to know more and you want the full details, including step-by-step, literally step-by-step installation guide, be sure to check out our website. That's InTents.Adventures.com. You can also hit us up on Instagram, InTents.Adventures. I will link all of those here in the video description, but there you will find reviews on all these products as well as really detailed installation instructions. Make sure you check it out, and if you've got any questions, leave us a comment here in the video or leave us a comment in the blog, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Once again, Kristen from InTents.Adventures, thanks for watching.